Welcome everybody to Project You, Project Me, the FTG guide to self-belief and self-coaching. Why not come along and listen to people like you, people like me, leaving legacies for your future. Hello everybody, welcome to Project You, Project Me, and this is podcast 15 with the amazing Clare Palmer from Clarity Coaching. How are you, Clare?
I'm good, thank you, John. Yourself?
Yeah, all great. Apart from I've still got missing teeth, so that's not great. I've probably been talking too much when I should have been listening, Claire.
Oh, well, that happens to most people.
But anyway, it's fantastic to have you here, and I know that you're busy, a busy bee all of the time, and you've got lots and lots of work going on. So it's absolutely amazing that you've given us time today to not just me to service people, to everyone leaving, to veterans and all of that kind of stuff. So it's all fantastic. But I just wanted to start and pick you up on a post you put out this morning because it was really interesting to me. And this is me down to a T. I'm rubbish at this. It's that kind of let it go piece you put out this morning. What's that all about?
Yeah, so I'm a big advocate of self-development and being a coach as well. You know, if I don't invest in myself, I'm not investing in the people that come to me. So last week was for me was all about self-development, and one of the psychologists that I was listening to says that emotion is only felt for 90 seconds, and then everything else after that is choice.
Wow.
And I was like, surely that can't be right. So I like to test these things. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, actually, for a lot of emotions that we go through, and particularly negative emotions, um, it is through choice, right? We are choosing that if we're stuck in a traffic jam and we get angry, we choose then to keep that anger going and to get into the workplace or to get back to the family and still being knocked up about it for the rest of the evening. Where actually the traffic jam's been and gone. Why are we holding on to that? Why are we doing that? So I've set myself and those who want to come and join me a little experiment of saying, next time you get an emotion come up, how long does it truly last for compared to how long you allow it to last for?
Yeah. Wow. Wow. 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
Wow. That I'm gonna come along for that. I'm rubbish at this kind of thing.
And you know what it is? I think a lot of us, what happens is something happens, we use default behavior to deal with it. So I'll use traffic jam as the example, right? We're so used to seeing a traffic jam and going, oh, traffic, oh, I'm going to be late. And then that cycle of negativity, we just keep rolling on. Like instead of going, it's a traffic jam, can I do anything about it? The answer is no. So then why get angry or frustrated or upset about it if there's nothing you can do about it? you
Mm.
know and so that is something I've been working on a lot for myself. So where I live, we have a merge in turn sign, so it's where two lanes go into one in the road. And I used to get so frustrated and angry at the people who couldn't follow that simple sign, so they'd be pushing you out further and further into the road or into the curb, whichever way they were coming at. But now I'm just like, do you know what? I don't want you to hit my car. So if you're that insistent on being in front of me, be my guest. If it's going to make you feel better, then I'm a good person to allow you to feel better. So crack on.
Yeah.
And now I get to that road sign and I'm like, oh, who am I going to help today? And that makes me feel good if I know I'm helping someone. So,
Yeah. Actually, that attitude, we've had several conversations, and you've helped quite a lot with some of the things that perhaps I've felt and things like that. So, I have learned a lot from you personally when you've said, John, you know, what difference does it make?
yeah.
Forget about it. What's it going to do if you keep thinking about it and things like that? But we'll get into a little bit of that further on, I guess. But I mean, I would ask anybody to come and speak with you, reference the negativity they may have and things like that, because it can be fixed, or at least
It,
you can do things that can stop you from
it's
going.
about becoming intentional about it, right? And people think that because they come to see a coach, we make the world better for them and everything's fine and they'll end up with blue tits flying around their head. Not at all, right? If you want that, go watch a Disney movie, because from a decent coach, you are not going to get that. But what you will get is the ability to really focus in on yourself and be intentional in what you think, and importantly, what you think about, which again is something you and I have spoken about at length before. Like, why am I thinking that? Why do I believe that to be true? Why do I have this perception that other people are going to say this, that, and the other about me? Right? When you start to question yourself on those things, question yourself about your self-belief in your abilities, in who you actually are, what are you without that uniform on? That's when you get to the nitty-gritty of, I have a choice here, you know, and this comes back to your hunted or the sleepwalker mentality. If I believe I have a choice and I'm intentional in the choices that I make, I'm going to get the outcomes that I want, which will strengthen my self-belief, rather than blindlessly walking from here to there to wherever and thinking, I don't fit anywhere. You don't fit anywhere because you've not defined where you want to fit.
Yeah. And that's a brilliant way to start this as well. Because many people will be listening to this and think, that's me. That's exactly me, which kind of brings us on to that first piece I want to talk to you about and get it out there to service people, which is the very first thing I believe every single person needs to get whilst they're leaving the military and in the transition, which is ownership.
Yeah.
And I think that you definitely need this for that successful future, but it's so hard to get. You know, if ownership was easy, there'd be no sleepwalkers. So why do you think that is so hard to gain? Where's the problem?
I think the problem is, and it's not just with people leaving the forces, it's for a lot of people, it's that identification. I can only take ownership of what I know I'm taking ownership of. And if I don't really know who I am and what I am and what my capabilities are, and I just go back to the default behavior. So, for example, let's say we've got someone leaving and they've always worked in logistics. So I'm just going to go for a logistics job and I just fire my CV out, the same CV to all these different logistics companies, right? That's not really taking ownership. That is just getting a means to an end. Like, I'm going to get a job in an area that I know about, that I feel okay about. Don't feel great, but I know it's okay, I can do it. Where that ownership piece is about, and this sounds a bit wishy-washy, and you know I'm not wishy-washy in that way, but it is about that discovery of, okay, without this backdrop, without this uniform, without this job title, what am I? And then really focusing down on, what is it that really sets my soul on fire? What is it that really makes me go, yeah, do you know what? I love doing that. Because we're in this unique position, right, where a lot of people have had a career, a relatively long and successful career, and now they're going into a workplace which is an environment that feels quite alien to them, because again, they keep being told civvy street's a different beast to being in the military, and to a degree, yes, it is, right? But they've got all this kind of negative and toxic weight being put on them. And actually, forget that. Focus on you first. Become the owner of you and who you are and what you want to do. And then you can start to take ownership of the results that you start to get. So a lot of the time, people will say, well, I didn't get the job because they didn't understand what it means for me, and blah blah blah, and it's blamed on everyone else. Oh, so and so didn't give me a great CV, or you know, so and so didn't do this. No, ownership is about owning it. You didn't get that job for a reason. Find out what that reason is. What was it about you? Own that, grow from that, move forward. Don't proportion blame. So ownership is about letting go of blaming others, situations, environments, whatever it may be, and just focusing on what you are doing for you to get where you want to be.
Absolutely. And I speak all the time, and I actually put a post out today, reference ownership, and saying, you know, that's what the FTG in particular is all about. It's about giving you guidance and giving you a bit of a handrail and bringing things to you, giving you reality. But actually, it's about you.
Yeah. It's like a
Doesn't matter
pick and
what
mix of
anyone else does.
opportunity,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. And I think, you know, and you know that I get really frustrated and upset when at the job fairs people are in the chat
Mm.
saying to the people, you know, who've got these amazing opportunities, can you get hold of me?
Yeah.
And I want to go, no, they are not getting a hold of you. If you want that job, you put yourself in pole position to get it.
Hmm.
Don't blame the fact that they didn't get back to you as the reason why you didn't get an interview.
Hmm.
Do all you can to connect with them, to network with them, to interact with them, to find out what it's really like to work in that environment. And then you know that you are taking ownership of your own destiny. You're not putting it in someone else's hands and then using them as the excuse as to why you've not got where you want to be.
Mm. Yeah. So would you, I mean, Civvy Street, I've only been in it for what, 7 years now. So you are way better positioned than I am to comment on Civvy Street. But military wise, would you suggest that one of the reasons for the lack of understanding who you are is the uniform, is the rank? Um, is it because everything gets done for you in the military? You haven't really got a say on anything. So all of a sudden, when it's about you and you've got to take control, could that be one of the problems that people have to get over?
Absolutely. And it's that thing of the schema in your mind or the reference point in your mind is, what have I done before? And so if things have been done for you before, even simple things like going out and getting yourself a dentist,
Mhm.
then it can feel quite daunting, because how are you meant to go about it? How are you meant to know who's good, who's bad? How are you meant to know whether, you know, you should have a dental plan or whether you should just pay as you go? Thinking about your teeth now.
Just going to
But
say,
it's that kind of thing. And I get that. You know, I left a corporate career after 25 years where literally everything had been done for me. I
mm,
followed processes. I didn't have to think about certain things. You know, I certainly didn't have to worry about my phone bill and my broadband and stuff like that. So on the day that I left, and I was suddenly like, okay, now I'm on my own. Now I've got to sort out my TV and my broadband package. And I know that that's really simple, but it was like, I've never done this before. I don't know what's a good price. I don't know what's a bad price. And you start to panic even on the small things like that. And that panic, that fear then holds you back.
mm,
So then
yeah,
it's easy to kind of start putting those labels and those restrictions on yourself, where actually for you, I, and everyone listening to this and watching this, here's the thing: we are all amazing learners. We are blinking fantastic at it. And do you know why I know that? Because every single one of us has been doing it since the moment we were born. We learned to breathe very, very quickly, right? We've learned to think, we've learned to walk, we've learned to ride a bike, to swim, whatever it may be.
mm,
We've learned stuff and we've done qualifications, we've passed tests. All of this stuff we have done, which shows we have the capability to learn and overcome fear. But suddenly we get to this point in our lives where it's like, oh, that feels too scary. That doesn't feel possible. I'm not good enough for that. Well, you absolutely are, because you've been proving that all your life. What you're doing is allowing these negative thoughts
mm,
and maybe other people's experiences to start to cloud the judgment of your own ability. And, you know, it's like, well, it didn't work for so and so, so I may as well not do it.
mm,
Well, what is it about Joe Bloggs that made it fail for him?
mm,
What is it about you that's going to make it successful for you? And
mm,
you have to look at that. It's again something, as a leader in a corporate, I used to hear people say to me all the time, oh, we tried to do this several years ago, it didn't work.
yes.
And I'd be like, so what was it that made it not work? And they'd be like, well, you know, it's the managers at the time. Okay, well, I'm your manager now, so you've got a different manager. What is it that's not going to work? Well, it's just one of those things. And then I would often go in with the question, well, what was it about you that made it fail last time? And when we have to take ownership of our own failings and our
Mm,
own capabilities and how far we push those capabilities, suddenly it becomes a different story. It's
mm,
like, well, I want it to work. Most people will say, I want to be successful when I leave the military. I want to get a job. Um, and the ownership piece for that comes into those that just want to get a job in Civvy Street somewhere, to those who know the job they're going for, to those who know what that job is going to give them personally. And I'm not just talking about a wage, because a wage is an outcome for you turning up to do the job, but they understand themselves so well that they know what is going to make them truly happy and fill some of those gaps that will be left from leaving the military, like, you know, having a great team around you, having that support, having people there that will guide you through a process so that you're successful. They look for jobs that are going to fulfill those gaps. And that's why they tend to be a lot happier and more successful than those that just simply have an outcome of, I'm going to get a job.
Yeah. I mean, going back to your negativity point, and I mean, there's definitely some of that transferred into me from my feeling of leaving the military, or wherever that's come from. Because even now, I was only having a conversation the other day. I'm running my own business, and some things I haven't done, and I probably haven't done them because I think I can't.
Yeah.
And some business partners said, why hasn't it been done? And I've got every excuse in the world for it not being done, but the reality is I'm kind of a bit scared of doing it. And I probably will do it very quickly and very easily, but I've never done it before and it's all new to me. So it's a little bit of a scary situation. And I think some of that still lingers on within myself.
Yeah, and it's that thing of, if I fail, what's the repercussions of this? So, you know, I know in my experience, in my role, so I was doing anti-bribery and corruption, I knew if I made the wrong choice, made the wrong decision, the outcome of that failure would be massive reputational loss to the business, huge financial loss. And I know I would then be pulled over the coals, and it would be my reputation that was in tatters. And I suppose you can kind of relate to that as well from the military background, right? You know that people are going to go, oh, well, that was John's fault and blah, blah, blah. Whereas when we then look into doing things in the Civvy Street world, if you want to call it that, it's like actually those things, you are in control of them more. So it's not such a big issue. I know if I make the wrong decision in my business, the only person that's impacted by it realistically is me. And you could say, okay, well, that's a negative. I might lose some money somewhere or whatever. But actually, the positive is I've learned from that mistake. So I've put myself out there. I've tried something new. I've learned that the way I did it wasn't right. So I can now find the right way of doing it, rather than, to me, the biggest failure is not to do it at all. Because if you don't do it at all, you are literally just accepting that you failed because you've failed to take action.
And that's a sleepwalker right there. And I think that's when people get into that. I'm burying my head now. I just don't want to look outside anymore. And that's the amount of people I get that are in that situation is quite vast.
Yeah, and I think there's also, when you're leaving something that you have such a strong attachment to, there is a kind of grieving process you have to go through. And that's just normal human reaction, right? And people shouldn't beat themselves up for having those strong emotions. And there's also a sense, and I've got it from a lot of people that I've worked through the Forces Transition Group, is this feeling of abandonment. Like, by making a choice to leave, I am abandoning my team, my colleagues, you know, everyone that's been around me. But equally, then the moment I start to step away, they've abandoned me, because their life is still going on. They're still doing what they do in their jobs, in their roles, where I'm stuck out on my own. And that feeling of abandonment can often be one of the reasons why people put their heads in the sand. Because if I just think that everything's going to carry on, and I know the date for me leaving is looming, but I'm going to carry on like everything's normal, then actually that abandonment after, if you call it day zero, the day after you've left, is huge, because you've not prepared yourself. You've not got a plan of attack for what you're going to do over the next 12 weeks to get you to where you want to be, because you don't know where you want to be. You've not thought that far ahead. And I know that's something that, you know, in the introduction to the Project Me, Project You workbook, you've spoken about from your own experience.
Mm. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, that's, I suppose, some good food for thought on ownership and how you can move forward. And of course, anybody wants to speak more about ownership and understand why they're struggling, then, you know, get in touch with Clare, and all the details will be, you know, on the website and on the posters that we put out. But let's move on to my next, I suppose, point is something. This was in the military, and there was in areas toxic cultures and things like that. But I didn't really feel that it was that big or anything like that. But I imagine them kind of things would have been there. What's really startling to me is when I left the military, I suppose a couple of the companies I went into was massively toxic. Nothing that I've ever experienced in my life. And I couldn't get my head around that. And I really struggled with my ability to say, hold on a minute, I've just been somebody, if you like. I had a rank, I had a name, I was the top of my tree, and all of a sudden I felt nearly or actually bullied by people who I would say are nowhere near the level that I've been, or who I believe I am, or anything like that. But I just couldn't understand that. And ultimately, now going and running my own business, the more successful you get, all of a sudden you start to get all this toxic culture from all these other people for no reason whatsoever, that you've never said a word against or a word to. You don't even actually
Yeah.
know really who they are. And that's something else that I've found really strange. So, you know, I've even been this week called I guess I can say it, a cockwomble, by somebody that I classed as a friend and things like that, you know, behind my back. Now, this kind of toxicity is so, I just can't get my head around it. Why is it? Why do them things happen, Claire? You know, especially against people who I've never really gone and done anything against.
Yeah. So the first thing about going into an organization where you experience toxic behaviors, toxic culture, right? That is one thing. And what often happens within organizations is that kind of behavior builds up over time. But the people that have been there a long time don't notice it because it
Hmm.
slips in and it's just the way we do things. Now, what you have to do there is make, again, that ownership choice. Do I accept this or not? If I accept it, there's no point letting it damage me and impact me in any way, shape, or form because I'm accepting it. If I don't like it, then I can do something about it. And there will be policies in place for that to happen, or you can simply walk away. Remember, the next job you're going into is an experiment. Okay, it's about looking to say, now that I'm no longer in this fixed environment, I have this amazing opportunity to try lots of different things.
Mhm.
And if something doesn't fit, I don't have to think I've got to stay here for 22 years in order to get my payout, right? It's like, you know what, if you don't like it, move on. You're not a tree. So there's that. I think when we experience toxic behavior to ourselves directly from other people, what we have a choice about is how long we hold on to it. So hence the 90 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not in control about what other people think or feel about us, even though we could be amazing, right? We could win the lottery and we could give it all to charity and think that we are doing a really kind gesture.
Yeah.
There'll be someone else that goes, what a cockwomble for giving all that money away,
Yeah.
right? We can't impact that, we can't control what that person thinks about us. What we can control is how we react to it and how long we choose to hold on to it. So I say to people all the time, you know, imagine you when you've got your finger and you're pointing, you're either telling someone really good, like, John, you're amazing, you're fantastic, I love you. There's three fingers pointing back at me. So the words that I'm saying to you, I'm amplifying back to myself 3 times over. If I'm then saying, John, I think what you do is rubbish. I don't think you help people very well. I don't think the quality of your work is really great. I've got to accept that that's been amplified back at me as well. So if I think that about John, and I'm willing to put that out about John, how can I justify it? And if I can justify it and it's truth and it's fact, then I have to say to myself, okay, am I the kind of person that gets enjoyment from bringing others down? Or actually, am I the kind of person that will go and take someone to one side and say, look, mate, I'm going to give you this feedback because I care about you. Now, whether you choose to act on it or not is completely up to you. You own it. You own what you do. But this is what I think. This is why I think it. This is where I've seen it.
Yeah.
If you can do that, then that's much better, because then actually what people see from you isn't toxic behavior. They see someone who is willing to help other people. You know, there's been numerous times on LinkedIn where I've contacted people who have put up their open to work banner and they just go, if anyone can help me get a role, that'd be really great. Thanks. I'm looking for a new one. And I've gone and like private messaged those people and said, look, I see that you're open for work. Just a word of advice. You need to get specific on what kind of roles you're wanting, because that will help people give your details to the people who can help you.
Yeah.
And then literally within 5 or 10 minutes, I guarantee at least 90% of them will go up and be more specific in their post.
Yeah.
I could sit there and I could say, oh my God, John, look at this person yet again thinks like the world owes them a living.
Yeah.
What am I going to get out of that? What are they going to get out of that? What are you going to get out of that? We're just building up more toxicity as it goes on, and we're allowing that to influence us as people, where I would rather go and do something kind and get a feel-good feeling from doing that.
Me too. And one of the reasons I want to mention toxic information or stuff is because military people tell me that they get trolled and all kinds of stuff for certain things they put up, and it actually reduces their need or want to post more, to actually get something from their own brand from LinkedIn. And I know, and it's really good advice to say, listen, you know, take it how it is, let it go. If after 90 seconds you can do that, then just go and post again, because most people are good.
Yeah. And also you can always delete the comment, right? You've got the power to do that if you want to. I know a lot of people, you know, particularly around LinkedIn, people say, oh, you can't post personal stuff on LinkedIn. The LinkedIn police will come and get you. I can categorically say that has never happened to me. And I post up some really random stuff sometimes, right? So I don't let experience of others impact your thought, like, oh, I can't do that because this might happen. It may or it may not happen. Who knows? Try it, find out. But also as well, it's that thing of do what is right for you. Like occasionally, sometimes when I've used Facebook ads to advertise various courses that I'm doing, I'll get people come and say, this is a scam, this isn't real, blah, blah, blah. And I instantly feel like, oh, why would you say that about me? Why are you attacking me like that? Like, I don't deserve to be attacked. And then I'm like, come on, slap yourself around the face with a wet kipper. Do you know these people? Do they have any influence or impact on you whatsoever? No, they don't. Just delete the comments and crack on, because I know that what I'm putting out is right for the one person who needs it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I focus on. You still feel hurt. That feeling of hurt doesn't go away, but I'm more intentional about how long I allow it to impact me. And it's the same with LinkedIn posts and stuff like that. You know, occasionally you'll get someone who goes, I disagree with this. You know, I'm sure someone will put up about the 90-second thing. I completely disagree with it. That's great.
Yeah.
You know, that's great, because that's a debate. That's a discussion. I can learn from you. You can learn from me. That's an amazing stuff. But if it's just to knock someone down, then I advise anyone just to, if you feel someone's been toxic, just to knock you down, just remember that pointy finger that they're pointing at you, there's 3 fingers pointing back at them, and they have to own that. Yeah. They have to question themselves as a human being. Why am I doing that? Why am I getting myself so miserable that I have to pull someone else down? Geez, I don't want to live that kind of life.
Yeah. Well, there's a big difference between saying, listen, I don't agree with you, or slandering someone.
Yeah.
You know, disagreeing with somebody can stimulate conversation, can make things better, can actually show people that maybe they were wrong or whatever. That's what conversation's all about. But just, you know, hitting somebody just because you can, because perhaps you don't like what they're doing or they're doing better or you're jealous. That's just, I just can't, you know, get my head around that. And I don't.
I have obviously in the coaching arena there are thousands, millions probably of coaches across the world, and you know, all varying degrees. Everyone does something different, I believe, you know. And there are certain people, like people say to me all the time, oh, when I'm at networking events, for example, and there's other coaches there, oh, is that your competition? And I say no. And for the people that I really invest in, and those people that I really see amazing things from, I say they're my worthy rivals. Right, they're people that I'm going to collaborate with. They're people that I share ideas with. They're people that I run stuff past because I have a trust relationship with them. We've got respect for each other. We are there to help build each other up, you know. And again, there's been some great guys from the FTG who have gone into similar arenas that I'm in coaching, and I love it that, you know, they'll come back to me and say, oh, did you know this is going on, and blah blah blah, and we share stuff, and it's that's better. Like, that's everyone raising each other up rather than trying to push people down all the time. It's like, yeah, find your worthy rivals, find those people to collaborate with and to connect with and to learn from, but also people that, you know, that when you spend time with them, that time is valued and you're investing in them growing at the same time that you're growing as a person as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is all fantastic. You know, I think we could probably do a 5-hour podcast on this. It might be worth getting a few more people in a room and seeing what they've experienced, and it'd be interesting to hear the comments from people and what they see.
And I think the important thing as well is these things will happen. We can't stop them from happening.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not realistic. But remember, it's the choice of how long are you going to allow that negativity to impact you? How much of your future decisions are you going to allow to be influenced by what has happened?
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to take ownership of your own thoughts in that way, a lot of it you'll just let go. You're like, you know what, you're entitled to your opinion, crack on. I don't have a problem with it, you know. It's thing. And then when you put your next post out, or you go for your next interview, or you go into your next work environment, you're not carrying that baggage with you. You're going in, fresh start, fresh day. It's like, yeah, I'm here, this is who I am, these are my values, this is what I want to achieve, and you go for it.
Yeah, there was a saying you said before, I think it was earlier when we were having a bit of a chin wag and stuff like that about toxic people. I can't remember what it was. It'll come back to me in a minute. But it was fantastic. It was fantastic. I think it was something along the lines of, you know, let it go, let them think about what it is they're seeing or whatever, and just turn it back, you know, because someone told me not long ago that you know, the silence is the deadly thing. If you know, if they're trying to affect you and you just give them nothing back, it actually affects them and they start, you know, curling up in their own little ball, and that's fine because you don't have to be worried about that, do you?
Yeah, and also, you know, every now and again when things have happened, and I go back to kind of my corporate days, I would say to people, like, do you need help? And I don't mean that in a condescending way, but if they are expressing this amount of anger or frustration or whatever, what's actually behind that, and how can I help you overcome it? There was, I'm sure many of the listeners and viewers will know the girl from Gogglebox, what's her name? Moffat. It'll come back to me. Charlotte Moffat. She was doing a thing that I listened to on the radio, and she was saying she was getting trolled a lot, and it was really impacting on her mental health. Scarlett Moffat, that's it, isn't it? Not Charlotte. Scarlett. And then she had this moment where she was thinking, well, why are they saying that? And she actually phoned up the Samaritans. She felt so bad about it, and she spoke to them, which is great. You know, the brave people are the ones that reach out for help. And she had a great experience with them, and they helped her an awful lot. And what she realized was that these people are obviously so deeply hurt and wounded in some way, shape, or form that she could give back to them. So for every troll that she got, she just went back and said, here's the number for the Samaritans.
Wow.
And then she left it. She didn't engage in any more conversation. And one day someone came back to her and said, you know, I'm really sorry for what I did to you. And you were absolutely right. I was in a dark place and I just wanted to lash out and hurt people. And so she'd actually helped them by them being mean to her and her giving them the number for the Samaritans. She'd helped them. And again, that for me was like, wow, like, yeah, if you imagine that everyone that comes to attack you is doing so because they're wounded themselves or they feel they're going to be wounded by what you're doing, then try and help them.
It's powerful, that is. That's powerful. I've never seen that, but I might go and have a watch or listen to that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, because we're on time constraints,
Yeah.
my own time constraints, and of course you've got a busy job. Project You, Project Me, which is what it's all about. And coach, you're one of the finest coaches out there. So what I did is I put a booklet out there, and then said, "Have a look at that for me, Claire." And what do you think of it?
Do you know what? I really like it. I think, you know, me giving you feedback, I think there needs to be more on the ownership piece, but uncovering who am I, what are my passions, and what's my perfect work environment to be in. One thing I love is the performance profile, so the circles and kind of tagging yourself where you are. And I think, again, you know, for anyone using that, when you think about what do those numbers mean to you, define them. So if number one is I'm taking no action on this at all, I know it's a problem or it's a goal that I want, but I'm not taking any action, through to 10, what are you doing? What are you feeling? Where are you? What, you know, and define each section, you'll get that emotional connection to the actions that you're doing consistently to get you to be where you want to be. Because these things, these goals that we have, don't happen overnight. Just because we write them on a bit of paper doesn't happen. What makes a goal happen is you doing something consistently, day in, day out. And it's small things that get us to those big goals. So I love that whole circle thing. I was like, oh, John, did you get that from me? Because it's what I use all the time, because it's so simple, but it's something that people can take ownership from, something that they can define themselves. And I think, you know, I'd encourage anyone to use that to focus on, where am I now? Where do I want to be? What are the steps I need to go through to get there? And then think about, what are you currently doing today, or importantly, not doing today, that is going to move you towards being where you want to be. And as you move up that chain, what you'll notice is your belief about yourself starts to change. So your thoughts and your actions begin to change, and then your results begin to change, which then impacts how you believe about yourself. What do I believe? What do I believe I'm capable of? And you'll start to see over a shift of time that you start to realize, wow, look how far I've come, because you've been able to keep a track of it. You've got that piece of paper and you're able to go, yeah, that's great. And it's not always an upward movement, by the way. You know, you and I know these things go up and down and round and round and blah, blah, blah. But that's fine. You've always moved from that point that you were at.
That's really interesting. And I guess it's the hunter mentality as well that gets, you know, you could place on that, because you know, I've spoke about this before, Claire, but 4 years ago when I started banging on about the hunter and putting a picture of a wolf up and things like that, even I was like, are people gonna laugh at it? Are they gonna slant it? Are they gonna think, wow, this is a bit corny? Because I felt a little bit of that. Actually, what happened was it increased people's motivation to do things. They were actually telling me that they were waking up in the morning and going, right, I'm going to be a hunter today. And that actually starts to drive them forward. So it's all linked in together. The performance.
And it's a simple thing, right?
Really simple.
The mindset that you wake up with, like, what do I want to achieve today? What's the one thing I want to achieve? Again, too many of us wake up in the morning and we're like, oh, here's my massive big to-do list, right? You know, no, forget that. What's the one thing that you want to take action on today? That one thing for you that you will take action on. because by doing that one thing will give you the motivation to do the other stuff that's on your to-do list, to get your CV modified 6 different times if you're going for 6 different roles, to get you posting up on LinkedIn. If you say, my one thing today is that I'm going to connect with 5 people and invite them to a virtual brew, crack on and do it. Because once you've done it, great. What else are you capable of? You can move on. It's that motivation and that momentum.
Yeah, there's that famous video out there. I think it was someone, some general or something, or someone from the Navy, who said the first thing you should do is make your bed.
Yeah.
Make your bed in the morning, it motivates you to do everything else. It's absolutely brilliant when you listen to it, but it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot in a minute because I'm going to ask you about the 3 golden nuggets. But before I do that, you probably didn't know I was going to ask you this, but you deal with quite a lot of forces people. You've been on plenty of the things that we're doing and stuff like that. So I'm really interested in what you see as their failing. What do you see that they're not doing, or something that they don't believe they can do? Or you know, what is a negative that you see from service leavers? Something that they're not great at, maybe.
So the key thing is not knowing who they are. And so you said earlier about you went into a place of work and almost felt discredited in a way because you'd been this rank, you'd been this title, you know, blah, blah. And these people were beneath you almost, right? And actually that part of that comes from not knowing who you are without that title, because that title doesn't mean anything to anyone else, right? Just because I was an anti-bribery and corruption senior manager doesn't mean that's who, when I walk down the street, people instantly go, that's who she is, right? Just because you had the rank that you did, we don't have these flashing lights above our heads. So actually, once we know who we are and we are comfortable with that, actually we're more open and accepting of how other people see us. So that to me is a key thing, is about really take a moment to discover who you are without the uniform. You know, there'll be people watching this that have had sessions with me and they'll go, there she goes again, telling me to work out who I am without the uniform.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not encouraging everyone to strip off, but strip the uniform off. Think about what drives you. What legacy do you want to leave? What words do you want people to use to describe you in 6 months' time? Because they will be different to the words that your colleagues in the military use to describe you today. So think about all of those things, and that will help you start to focus and take the action on getting the right job for you, or going into a new role that's right for you. Yeah.
That really resonates with me, because you've heard me say lots of times, and I say it in all kinds of speeches and stuff like that, my biggest selling point, I believe, is my emotional side of the ability to be able to connect with people very easily, that they gain a trust.
Yeah.
And I think in the military, although that was still in me, I wasn't allowed to use it. I believed I wasn't allowed to use it because that was the way that I thought. And it probably took me 4 years to get that emotion back once I left. So, do I really know who I am now? Probably. Or I don't think I'm completely there yet, but I'm a lot closer than when I left. Because when I left, I was an RSM. And I'm not.
Which is, what my godson's father was when he left as well. He was the RSM.
Yeah. But that brings us on to the golden nuggets. I always ask about the golden nuggets. People tend to comment on this. So if you could give service leavers, ex-forces, veterans, whatever you want to call us all, 3 golden nuggets for the future for helping us get through to jobs, all that kind of stuff, what would they be?
So number 1 is be curious. Find out your why. Why do you think, feel, behave, make presumptions, whatever it is? Like, really be curious about your own person and your own thinking process, and start to question yourself, like, why do I believe I can't do that? Why do I believe I can only go into like logistics? Why do I believe I have to use my credits in a certain way? Right? Question why all the time. The second golden nugget is always lift your limit by 3%. So whatever you think you're capable of, what does 3% more look like? And then what's stopping you from that? Because 3% is minuscule. So you're more than capable of doing it. And if you don't believe me, put your hand up in the air, see how high you can get it, then stretch that a little bit further. You know, we've all done that exercise. We all know that our limits are imposed by ourselves. So let's start stretching those limits. And then the third thing, the golden nugget, is people in interviews stop weeing on the interviewer. And again, I know that there'll be a couple of people watching this going, that's what I do, and I need to stop it. So again, a lot of people that I've worked with that you've sent my way when we've been doing interviewing techniques, I've done a quick interview with them and I've said, oh, you've just weed all over me. It's a disgusting habit. And they're like, what? Like, we're not even in the same room. But it's that thing of, you're not selling the team. You're not selling the people that you worked with. You're selling yourself. So it's, I did this, I led this, I instigated this, I took the initiative to do this. I knew that I was making the right decisions. It's not, I was asked to do this and we did this and we did that and we took this decision and we, got this result. I'm not interested as an interviewer in we. I'm interested in you. So my third golden nugget is stop weeing at interviews.
I always love the be curious, the why questions, and definitely lifting your limits. The I thing, or should we say the weeing, that's a brilliant one. And I think we've never had that one actually. So that will probably hit a lot of people in the head when they're listening to this thing. I'm doing that all of the time.
And do you know what I'm thinking now? My image in my head is a womble on the common of Wimbledon having a little wee.
Yeah.
Because that's your cock womble.
Absolutely. That must be what is meant by that. So I'll think about that for the next 90 seconds. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it straight out the window and someone can have it back. Yeah. Which is a great place to finish because we're both smiling and I hope everybody else is. Again, Claire, we'll finish there. But I just want to thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
That you've done for me, and of course the big app service network and the community is massive. A lot of people will have no idea how much time you've spent with people and things like that. And of course, that's not what you're after or what you're trying to do. It's all about actually what you do when nobody knows. That really means a lot to people. Yeah. And
I have a mantra that my one thing to do every day is to make an impact on one person. And often I don't know who that person is, but I know by the actions that I take, I'm having an impact somewhere on somebody. So if just one person from this has an impact from it, my job for today is done.
Yeah. We'll finish on that, Claire, because you're a legend. So thank you so much for everything you do. And clearly we'll be doing a few more things. And hopefully Cheltenham is on the cards.
Brilliant. Thanks, John.
Thanks very much. It's great to see you, and we'll catch up with you soon. Stay safe.
Take care.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's Project You, Project Me. Thanks for listening in. But remember, we have a Project You, Project Me guide to self-coaching, to self-belief, and it can all be downloaded on our website. We also do the 5 fundamentals: CVs, professional writing. We do brand, we do CPD, making sure you're going in the right direction. We're also looking at your elevation, giving you 2 times the chance to set up your interviews before your first actual interview. And also we look at your financial plan, massively important for your future, for you and your family. So why not come along? Have a look. What you got to lose? It's all free. Stay safe.